All right, D. McClung, Archer Monologues. That's where I talk and you don't. Or think of it this way, just so you don't get too frustrated. It's radio. Do you talk to your radio? Probably not. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's futile because the people on the radio can't hear you. I know, there's talk radio where people can call in and talk to the host of the radio show, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's fine. But that's not this. This is not that. This is a monologue. All right, so maybe I'll cover one item. Maybe I'll cover two items or three, depending on, at what point where I say, it's good enough. All right, so here's the thing. Episode 56, I believe, of the year 2021, which is soon to be over. Another year shot to hell. Anyway, item one. And I'm just going to kind of do what do I call it? Let's just say I'm going to say something. All right, I'll just go right into it and then let the chips fall where they may. All right, the Second Amendment. It's very clear. We don't need the Supreme Court to figure out what it says. Well, actually, we need a Supreme Court that actually understands what it says and follows the law and rules accordingly. For example, if there's a law that says, hey, you can't have a gun. And of course, there's people now, they got this big gangbusters thing like, hey, we've got to ban guns and stuff like that. Well, Constitution is what it is. And you could always change it, I suppose, with an amendment. The Constitution provides for that. Yep, you can have an amendment to the Constitution, add it on, and you can repeal an amendment, perhaps, by, like they did Prohibition. Oh, that's just laughable. All right, so we won't even get into that. So, maybe later, another time. All right, so the Constitution of the United States, which is the law that tells the government what it can and cannot do. All right? It cannot infringe on your right of free speech. It cannot inhibit your right to practice your religion, whatever it may be, or not practice any religion at all. If that's the case, so be it. All right. Well, like in my case, I am not a religious person. I am an atheist because there's no God. That's a statement of fact. Yeah. Duh. So anyway, because I understand religion, I understand how it got started and when and how, basically or roughly. I know how, back in the days when people were like, had monkey brains. I mean, seriously. How smart were those people? All right. So the second, not very, apparently, obviously. So the Second Amendment, and I'll just state it, I'll paraphrase it, okay? I should know it by heart by now. I pretty much do. All right. Forget the part about the militia. That's irrelevant. All right? Seriously, it's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about. It has something to do with the Constitution and the running of the country and the way the country is operated with, there were militias. And now we might have a militia, which we might call something else. But nonetheless, that's not the point. And a lot of people like to bring that up and say, oh, but that First Amendment, the Second Amendment about, where it says, militia, well organized religion, whatever. Not religion. Oops. Organized control, whatever. Okay, I'm butchering it pretty good, but that's beside, it doesn't matter, because that's not what I'm talking about. The thing is, says that, and that's good. That's a part of the Second Amendment and a part of the Constitution and a part of the system of America. Now, we don't have the same setup in militia as we had back in, say 1790 or 1810. But that's all right. We're not talking about the military. We're talking about a right. Okay, so the amendment says, forgive me if I don't use like old English from the 18th century. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There is no argument here. Nobody in their right mind would argue about that. That's what it says. Get yourself a copy of the Constitution, and it says that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. That's what it says. Doesn't need an interpretation. Doesn't need for the Supreme Court to decide. That's what it says. That's what it means. And it means that in perpetuity. Unless, of course, you want to change it with some legal process called, an amendment, which is practically impossible. Now, if you want to change the Second Amendment, what are you going to change it to? Well, now, isn't that just a problem? Because I'm guessing if you wanted to change the Second Amendment, you would want to change it where it says something like the right to keep and bear arms doesn't exist anymore, or the right to keep and bear arms shall be infringed. How would you change it? Would you just repeal it altogether and just wipe out the Second Amendment entirely? Well, that would do away with that pesky militia thing. Probably will wipe out the military complex in this country entirely because, hey, without the Second Amendment, where'd the Army come from? All right. Anyway, and I'm sure somewhere in the Constitution says something about having an army. And defending the country and the borders, by the way. Borders. Protect the borders. All right. So we're not invaded by foreign countries and foreign peoples and stuff. But that's not the point. The point is, the Constitution recognizes the right. Now, what is a right? Well, in the system in America, we have a thing called rights. And those rights are protected by the Constitution from the government. And that government, that includes state, federal, local, whatever. And international, by the way. Like if you're thinking UN, what's the UN? They do. Anyway, fuck the UN. Anyhow, I'm not saying do away with the UN. I think UN's a good idea. I know that a lot of people are like, we gotta just kick them out of the country and go, that's just stupid. The UN is simply a union of all the world countries. And there are some that are not in the union, so to speak. I'm talking about union like in, common unity, like in the truckers union or the plumbers union or the States of America union. Yeah, pretty much the same idea. Well, where everybody joins together and has a common goal and a common bond. In this case, freedom. All right, so the right is recognized by the Constitution. Who in their right mind, unless you live in like a cave or you live in another country somewhere like Russia or China or someplace, which, as I understand it, have their own constitution, such as it is. I think even Cuba has a constitution, but, that helps you a lot, don't it, buddy? Anyway, if you're living there, sucks to be you. Anyway, now I'm sure it's a fine country. The government sucks, but whatever. And those people need to fix that. Not us, but they live there. China. Like a Chinese guy once told me, he was a Chinese, and he's living in this country, and he's very successful, and he went to China, to visit as a guest of the Chinese government. And I said, but why would you do that? And he said, because I'm an esteemed person and know my job. He was a surgeon. And I said, okay. And he said, they asked me to come and, help out with the studies of surgery and so on. And I said, well, that's cool. But how can you go there considering that China is oppressing Chinese people and you're Chinese? He says, I'm Chinese by heritage. Look at my eyes. But I'm actually American. So anyway, he said, I said, well, why would you want to get involved? Why would you kiss the butt of those people? The communists that run China. And he said, it's Chinese problem. Belongs to the Chinese people. They need to fix it. And until they do, nothing's going to change. The American people are not changing China. That's up to the Chinese people. And the same holds true with Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan, and Pakistan, and China, and England, and Cuba, and any other country. The people should take care of their business. Their own country. If they don't like it, fix it. And in America, if you don't like America the way it's being run, if you like America, but you don't like the way it's being run, fix it. And how? Well, I'm going to get to that in a minute. Not that, but the thing about the guns. So, the right to keep and bear arms simply recognizes the right. And as I started to say, rights are unalienable. Now, I'm saying that because I read that somewhere. Some guy that, helped form the country or the government. He helped form the government, by the way, not the country. I'm sure the country, landmass, was here a long time before freaking Thomas Jefferson started writing a thing. But, yeah, seriously. So the right is something you have because, now, I don't want to get into the intrinsic essence of rights in some spiritual sense or some philosophical sense. That's really not the point, and it's really not going to help us any here with this situation. So rights are inalienable, meaning you can't be taken away. It means you're born with them. A lot of people like to say God-given rights. That's kind of silly considering there's no God, but the gist of it is you're born a human being. Bingo, you have rights. What are they? Well, free speech, the right to think what you want religiously or non-religiously, and you have the right to keep and bear arms, which, of course, is there in the rights department or under the category of rights, human rights. By the way, natural human rights, self-defense. Self-defense meaning defend yourself, defend your family, defend your property, defend your neighbors, and defend your country if it comes to that. So yeah, the right. So it's natural right. The Constitution simply says, hey, we know that the people have the right to keep and bear arms. So the issue here is, now, what I want to get to here is this. Now, I mean, that's all what it is. And that's not even debatable. Why would anybody debate that? Why would anybody say, hey, that's not what that says? Well, it does, and there's no disputing, unless you're like, don't speak English. I don't speak English, and I don't think I understand what that says. Well, then you should learn English. Look it up in the dictionary. Shall not be infringed means no law, no law, no law, none. Law, zero, zilch, nada, none. Period. None. Now, okay, I'm going to get to the good part here in just a minute. Just bear with me. Here's the thing. It means no law, but does it? Now, people in America, some people, and they're all up in arms, literally, because I have the right to keep and bear arms. And then there are other people that are saying, guns kill people, and, we need to ban guns, because, We're tired of people shooting people and murdering people and stuff with guns and stuff. And, okay, well, yeah, that's honorable, and I don't care what the Republican, right-wing, fanatical, extremist, terrorist, Cooper dumpbucks say. They have a legitimate thing there with that. Yeah, we need to do something about that. But what? All right, I'll get to that. So here's the thing. What I'm said up to now has been, here's the human right, the Constitution recognizes the right, it's going to stay there, and then anybody tries to get rid of it, that's just crazy. In fact, if you did do away with the Second Amendment, I'd still have the right to keep and bear arms because, it's a natural right for, like I said, self-defense and for defense of my property, my family, my neighbors, my country, blah, blah, blah. So there's no way to get rid of it. Now, you can inhibit it, you can oppress it, you can make laws that, make it a crime to have a gun, but that law is invalid because the Constitution said, no, you can't. All right, you get the gist of what I'm saying. No law. So there's 60,000 plus laws in this country that have to do with guns, gun control, and so on. I don't want to point out here, I'm taking this 60,000 figure from something I read a long time ago. There may be more or less laws than that, but apparently the person that I read, wrote the article that I read, had done some research and found that there were 60,000 laws. And if you consider all of the laws on the books in every state, in the federal government, even local governments, you can figure out, that it wouldn't take long to add up to a lot of thousands of laws in the country. All of which are invalid, null and void, unconstitutional, and by law cannot exist. But D, without laws, bad guys will just kill people. Yep, well, look around. Read the news lately? Huh? People killing people with guns, and they have since yesterday and last year and last century and, forever. Since they had guns. And then before that, I guess bow and arrows and slingshots and spears and clubs and rocks and whatever. All of which come into the category of arms, I would think. Wouldn't you? Anyway. And, oh, by the way, if you're thinking in your head, I want to argue with that guy. No, you're not, because I'm not going to argue with you. I know what it says. I speak English. Duh. The right to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. Period. End of story. There's no debate. No debate. Now, if you want to have a conversation, friendly, civil conversation, I'm open to that. But, as soon as you start arguing, I'm going to shut you down. I'm not doing that. 2 and 2 is 4. Bingo. That's it. Who would argue that 2 and 2 equals 4? That doesn't. I mean, what? The same people that would argue maybe that, the sky is down and the earth is flat and there's a God. Seriously, that mentality, don't have any use for that. Just silly. It's ignorant, uneducated, dim-witted, whatever. So anyway, here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is what I've been working on for 20 minutes, is to get to this part right here. Okay? Here's the thing. I was just ranting and raving about this. I don't think it's a rant and rave, but, whatever. I'm talking about this, talking about the law, talking about rights, talking about Constitution, talking about the Supreme Court, which is a farce, by the way. They could have settled the issue a long time ago by simply declaring the Second Amendment says what it means, and it means what it says, and no laws, period, end of story. Done. Fixed that. But they didn't. And a lot of times the cases will come up with the Supreme Court, and they'll rule like 5-4, because there are 5 of those and 4 of those. Political parties has nothing to do with the Supreme Court, and why anybody would think that it would be all right for a Supreme Court judge to be a Republican or a Democrat is out of their mind. It should be a rule right there. No more are you allowed to be a Republican or Democrat or whatever. Because it's just biased, and you can't be biased and be on the Supreme Court. The only bias you're allowed to have is in favor of the freaking Constitution. And if it says no law, then it means no law. Duh. The Supreme Court shouldn't have a job. I mean, there shouldn't be anything for them to do. Because none of these laws that are brought before the Supreme Court should even exist in the first place. Because it's obvious that's not constitutional. They can't have that law. Why did you pass this law? And I can think of a lot of them right now, like, why did you pass a law banning abortion or restricting abortion when you can't? It's not allowed. Supreme Court could have just said 9-0, as in every case before the Supreme Court, 9-0, this law is unconstitutional, 9-0. End of story. Case closed forever and ever and ever and ever. Yeah. So here's the part that you've been waiting for. 21 and a half minutes into the show. It's okay. We're arguing about this. Well, I'm not. But people are arguing and bickering and fussing and fuming and ranting and raving and protesting and this and that about guns and laws and stuff like that. And you might have a legitimate question if you could get past your biases and your emotional, hysterical, indoctrination and propaganda thinking. You might actually ask me this question. And that question is, D, yes, with all of that being said, and all of that stuff to be considered, if we didn't have any laws, what would we do? How would we deal with people with guns that shoot people? And the various other things that people do with guns, like rob banks and stuff. Well, you thought I was going to give you the answer to that, didn't you? Well, here's the thing. Just passing a law doesn't fix it. And if the Supreme Court rules that it is a valid law or it isn't a valid law, isn't going to fix that problem. If everybody has the right to keep and bear arms, they do, by the way, and then if you pass laws that say they can't or don't have that right, you broke the law and you're guilty of treason. So Supreme Court, when you issue a ruling, it's 5-4 against the constitutional law that says no law, you've committed treason. Somebody, either the 5 or the 4, I suppose it's going to be like 6-3 now, since Trump put all those freaking traitors and Nazis in there. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, duh. Idiots. They're morons. So anyway, I'm hoping they don't disappoint me this time with the abortion thing, because that's just insane. All right, so let's not go into that this time. And besides, I've already spoken about that many times. And, look at some of the past episodes where I talk about that. Anyhow, what do? We can't just let people run around shooting people. We got to have some kind of law. All right. Well, that's the problem, and that's what you need to fix. That's where you need to come up with some clever ideas on how to fix that. Passing a law doesn't fix it. It's like telling a guy, there's a law, you can't do that. And then the guy says, I know there's a law, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, it's against the law to rape people. And yeah, people rape people. Guess it doesn't prevent crime, does it? Well, we're going to put the criminal in prison. Yeah, well, that goes into punishment and vengeance and shit. I'm not going to get into that right now either. I have a particular view about that. Punishment is ridiculous. This is the 21st century. It's time to get past that and come up with something better. All right. So what do we do about the gun? Find a way to deal with the people that are insane and not have guns and shoot people. Oh, I didn't say that they had them and shot people without the. I mean, you can have a crazy person have a gun that shoot anybody, then no big deal. If you have a law that says bank robbery is a crime and nobody robs a bank, the law is not the reason. Yeah, no, the law has nothing to do with the fact that somebody committed a bank robbery. I'm pretty sure there was another reason, like maybe they didn't have any money. I'm just suggesting maybe you might want to address that problem. All right, and if you're a psychopath and you like killing people, then maybe you need some mental help. Put this man or woman or person or child or an adolescent or whatever, in a mental institution and see if you can fix him. I mean, if he's insane, you're not going to just let him have a gun. And your parents of these people, like the kid that shot a bunch of people somewhere the other day, and then the parents get arrested and charged with involuntary manslaughter. I thought it would be aiding and abetting a felony, but what do I know? You understand what I'm saying? So maybe that's an idea. I read that they went out and bought him a gun for his birthday, like 2 days. Was his birthday? 2 days before he committed these murders. 2 freaking days. He's 15. Why would you do that? You need to ask the question. How do we deal with people that do stupid shit like that? You don't pass a law saying a 15-year-old can't have a gun. That's not going to work, is it? Seeing as how he had one and his parents gave it to him. Now, there's a law about, adults giving an adolescent a gun. Well, yeah, well, that didn't work either, did it? You're going to have to be a little bit more clever, people. The government's going to have to start thinking a little bit more practical, a little bit more realistic, a little bit more logical. They're going to have to try to find a way to fix the problem, because somebody shooting somebody is the symptom. Am I suggesting that people who commit murder are mentally ill? Yeah, duh. And we put them in prison because you're a murderer, put you in prison for 20 years or life or whatever. Well, excuse me. They're insane. Sane people don't murder people. That kid that went into school and shot those kids. I'm sorry. The kid is insane. He doesn't belong in prison. He belongs in a mental institution. And I'm guessing he belonged in a mental institution a few years ago, because I'm pretty sure his murderous inclinations were shown visible before this happened. Someone suggested, he was bullied and that's why he got a gun. Excuse me? So parent says to his kid, hey, son, you're being bullied. You're 15, by the way. You're being bullied in school, are you? Yeah. Well, here's what you do. Here's a gun. What do you want me to do with it, Dad? Well, if you have the gun and they bully you, shoot them. What? Are you out of your fucking mind? Now, I can tell you, I was bullied as a kid, and sometimes I'm even bullied today by people on the internet, but and the government definitely is a bully. But come on, get real. Gonna have to think about these things. going to have to figure out how to solve the problem, the root cause of these insanities. Well, by the way, all of these Republicans, we have the right to keep and bear arms, and we're going to walk around the streets with a gun and, shoot people. And we have a right to do it because we're like people, like Christians and stuff. God said do it. God told me to kill people, whatever. Insane. Totally freaking insane. I'm sorry. If you're Christian, you're freaking insane. You need mental help. You need to put a freaking mental institution and have your brain fixed. I know. There's no cure for stupid. And you can't really make a retarded person intelligent. Not really. But you might be able to fix them to the point that they don't actually take a gun and murder people. Particularly if you're 15 years old. Do I make myself clear? Yes, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. However, fix the problem. Be clever. You're going to have to be a little bit more original than just saying, oh, let's pass another law. Or even, let's enforce the laws on the books already. Because there's a lot of laws on the books that are not really laws. And just like the violation of the Constitution's Second Amendment, there are laws that are unconstitutional that have to do with people being human beings and doing what comes natural. Won't get into that one right now, but I will. And here's the thing, and that's the thing. You're going to have to be creative here. You're going to have to come up with something to do something, some way of fixing the problem, the root. I know I'm repeating myself. The problem. Why do people shoot people? Because the bullies were picking on him. Yep. Well, maybe he should have figured something else out. Maybe his parents should have been aware and did something to help out a little bit. If my kids were in school and they were being bullied, I went down to the school and I had a talk with the school people and I had a talk with the bully. And you know what? Bully stopped being a bully to my kid. Now, I don't know if he continued bullying other people or not, because, maybe he did. Not my problem. And if the other kids and other parents involved with the kid, my kid's being bullied, even though you talk to the bully, well, then you should have a talk with the bully. And if every parent talks to the bully, then maybe the bully will get the idea he better stop doing that. Or else. The mob might kick his ass in self-defense. Just saying. All right. Think about that. Think about the right to keep and bear arms and the fact we need alternative solutions that actually work and that actually are constitutional and actually are rational, reasonable, sane solutions. All right. Diva Clown, Arthur Monologues. Catch you next time.